So today we're going to have a little chat about Telstra Christmas campaign through Bear Meets Eagle on Fire, Revolver, and director Steve Rogers, which has just come out about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's been pretty well received and going really well.
Yeah, I think so. I think we just wanted to talk about today sort of our process in the sound and music sort of side of things with the spot.
Yeah.
Particularly, with the music and how we sort of approach the different genres of the song A Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives. And how we kind of approach those. And also for you, Tone, how you approach the sound design with the donkey and creating the effect of that donkey singing the Holly Jolly Christmas through his stomach.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an interesting one. We kind of divided and conquered as a bit of a team. We had Dan and Renee head over to the park across the road with a little boom box with a recording of the solo singing of Burl Ives, and recorded that at a couple of different distances to see what would sound best and what would work. We came back and put it in, and we thought it was okay, but it kind of didn't really do what we wanted to do. So in the end, we actually started looking through some Pro Tools plugins, and we ended up using this verb here and one of its settings, which is a West African drum called a djembe, which is a wooden drum with a skin over the top, which we felt kind of gave the sound of maybe being in an animal's stomach, and it really worked. Everybody's really happy with it. All the things we compared it to, that one kind of really worked. And if we have a listen here, I'll just have a bit of a playthrough, and you get an idea of how that sounds. And what I did throughout the spot is I just eased that off, used a little bit less of it and less of it throughout. Never going fully without it, but always kind of just easing it off, just to kind of give a bit more clarity on the voice.
And didn't you also, there's a great sound of the donkey kind of making a noise as if he's trying to sing.
Absolutely.
There's little animal noises in there that just make it feel as if he's actually exclaiming and singing the song.
Absolutely. We tried it a lot through the spot, and it was too much. So in the end, we only did it once, right at the head here. If you have a little listen, it's just a little donkey here. And you combine those two, and with the Burl Ives kind of thing, and you hear it sounds pretty good. Just kind of makes you think, wow, that's really coming out of the donkey's stomach. Yeah, it's really good.
Should we move on to the next scene now, which is the fairground?
Absolutely.
So for this, we recorded a bunch of players, particularly Scott Langley on clarinet, who did a great job of playing this sort of raucous clarinet part. We also had banjo, guitar, we had double bass, and we also had the washboard as well, just to have that real authentic jug band sort of feel. Yeah. What we did find, though, was actually the recording was so sort of high fidelity. It was so well sounding that actually it didn't really fit in the scene very well. So what you did is actually made that sound as if it was coming from the scene.
Yeah. So you had recorded the full song, given to the team for on the day. I think the band that are recorded on camera learnt the song, so they played it live as well. And the team from Bear had heard this offline recording from a boom mic or something from the day of their band, and it sounded great live and real. It just wasn't quite perfect musically. So we took that recording, did a little EQ match, and I went through all your stems and EQ'd matched each one, which then kind of came together and got a great sound. But if you have a listen here, I'll play, here's just, for example, the banjo. You can hear a little bit of it on that one, but if you go to like the clarinet here, you can hear the clarinet kind of really sounds like it's live from the day. Great, right? And then you put all of those together and you kind of get the sound from the day.
Oh, by golly, have a holly jolly Christmas.
Which is really nice. And then put that into the mix with a bit of crowd. Sounds like the real thing playing before you. It feels like you're in the crowd.
Jolly Christmas this year. Have a holly jolly.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah.
And actually, before we move on, for these different genres that we recorded, the team at Bear and Steve wanted us to not actually just record and stick to certain bits of the song, but rather actually record the whole song. And just so that meant that in the editing stage, they could actually then choose whichever section they wanted, which was a great way of just having that kind of flexibility to pick which parts of the track sort of worked for each of the scenes. So for this, we had the whole track played out, and actually on the day they shot the whole track, the 2.5 minute track, and then they actually then chopped up and figured out which bits of the song they wanted to use, which is pretty cool.
Which, funnily enough, well, not funnily enough, but talking about that before we go into the recording studio section, one of the things where they tried to edit multiple different ways, and in the end decided, while keeping musically in time, they would move their way through the song to give us a kind of time jump through scenes, so we could keep moving.
It wasn't linear. It was more so, it was kind of just moving through the track in different sort of sections just to make it feel a little bit more of a mashup rather than a music video, so to speak.
Great.
Yeah, should we go to the recording studio now?
Let's do it.
So for this one, I believe it was actually just the master recording that they used. But from memory, on the day, there was a drummer, right, who had a little snare part that sounded really good that you guys might have used in the final spot.
Again, like the jug band, the guys had heard, or maybe it was the editor, had kind of got a piece of audio from the day where this drummer, who's a real drummer, playing, and he sounded amazing. And if you have a listen here, we just got a little bit of boom mic here where we got him playing the drums. And you can hear that it sounds like a drummer in a room, and it sounds amazing. We added that to the real recording and our affected vocals, and you get this. Sounds like you're sitting in the room with them.
I don't know if there'll be snow, but have a cup of cheer.
And again, that all goes to the whole thing was to be authentic. We wanted to feel like each scene was a real thing, not overproduced and slick, like something where we were there sitting in the room with all the things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Well, speaking of, should we move on to the mariachi section now?
Absolutely.
Which was a little bit more tricky musically, only because the nature of the Holly Jolly track, it's a sort of 4/4 to the floor piece of music, and actually having that kind of fit into a mariachi style track was a little tricky, but we were able to kind of work out a rhythm that actually was able to work with the vocal track, but still feel authentically Mexican. So this sort of trio rhythm, this 3-3-2 kind of feel, works against the vocals.
Great.
And then we recorded a few trumpets, violin, a guitar and a vihuela as well, sort of all Mexican instruments.
Great. Let's have a listen to it.
And then I think you added a filter on there as well.
I did just a little bit of a record player filter, just trying to take it back to the era. Which gave it that kind of, ye oldie TV sound, even though it's a record player filter.
Yeah,
Right.
Sounds really good.
Yeah. And then out of that, we kind of flowed into this sequence where the donkey is now kind of at peak fame. It's on a film set, but he kind of hears a bit of the whistling of the tune, and it kind of takes him back. And we use some classic reverb delay kind of filters to give that trope of we're having a little dream sequence, a flashback, and he's starting to think about the life he used to have, and maybe this life isn't the one for him, and he wants to go back to the farm and visit the family.
Yeah.
And which we do. So we come back here. I'll just play through the dream sequence bit quickly. Nice. And then we roll out the back end and we finish up with our lady.
With the mouse.
With the mouse.
Yeah.
The mouse. And our mouse.
It's a great story.
Our mouse lady is a lady who's been in 3 Telstra ads now. One as our little mouse, one as a gecko sunbaking, and one as the kind of lead of the Telstra footy spot where she's the lady who saves the day for the local footy competition and gets people to the game. And it's not been deliberate. She just keeps turning up and doing great work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and funnily enough, she was on Source Connect to some regional studio where the Source Connect was having a bit of trouble. So we put her on Zoom, and Zoom's not the best recording method, but kind of worked perfect because it was kind of lo-fi, and I didn't actually need to filter it. Zoom did the job for me. Sounds like it's lo-fi in the room there.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, which is great.
That's the spot, basically. It's all came together, and I think overall sounds pretty good.
Sounds great.